I jumped up. I was forgetting the time. I must catch the train. She had her hand on the drawer. Don't you want to wait for my mother? No, I must go. I walked to the door. The girl pulled the drawer open. I can find my own way. As I walked down the passage, I heard the jingling of spoons and forks. Now, to the narrator, it seemed that Mrs. Darling's daughter also never noticed that the cutlery she used every day was silver. She opened the drawer to bring out more spoons and forks, but the narrator didn't want to see them now. She didn't want to meet Mrs. Darling. So she jumped up to go to catch her train. Here, children, we must remember and we must understand the narrator's feelings in particular. She felt so horrified to see her mother's belongings in a place that was unknown to her. The tasteless way they were being used by Mrs. Darling and her family. And the old memories came flooding back to her. And she felt sad at the underestimated value of her mother's belongings. At the corner of the road, I looked up the nameplate. Marconi Street, it said. I had been at number 46. The address was correct, but now I didn't want to remember it anymore. I wouldn't go back there because the objects that are linked in your memory with the familiar life of former times instantly lose their value when severed from them. You see them again in strange surroundings. And what should I have done with them in a small rented room where the shreds of the blackout paper still hung along the windows and no more than a handful of cutlery fitted in the narrow table drawer? I resolved to forget the address. Of all the things I had to forget, that would be the easiest. The girl asked the narrator that won't she wait for her mother? And the narrator replied, no, she had to move on. She heard the jingling sound of the spoons and forks that the girl she was taking out of the drawer, but she started moving. And at the corner of the road, she looked up at the address again. The address was correct, but now she didn't want to remember it anymore. Children, just look at the narrator's position. She remembered this address for years. Even during the tough times during the war, the life was so difficult for her, but still she remembered that address. She kept in her mind and she went there when the war was over. But now, suddenly she decided, she resolved to forget this address. She said, I didn't want to remember it anymore. She had no intention to visit that house again. She had lost interest in the things that had been taken away from her house and put in strange surroundings. She said here that the objects that are linked in our memory, they lose their importance when they are cut off from the people, from the situations, from the time they are associated with. So, when she saw the objects in the strange surroundings, she suddenly decided to forget it and move on. And she felt that she had no place for them from either in her home or in her heart. So it is better to forget this address. And the narrator decided to forget the past and move on in her life, saying that of all the things she had to forget, that would be the easiest because these are the things. And we know that she had to forget much in her life and especially her mother.